Hey, good morning, everyone. It's Brenda Meller with Meller Marketing, bringing you back for another slice of social media pie. And guess what? Today, guys, I am super excited because I've got Marlo Higgins online with me today. Hey, Marlo, how are you doing today?
I'm fantastic. Thank you.
Good. And where are you located, and how's the weather in your area of the country right now?
Okay, so I'm in the Midwest. We are based in Iowa. So if you know, like Big Ten college towns, we're University of Iowa territory. So very educated, professional, cultural. The weather is awesome in the Midwest. I mean, we're starting to have the 70s, which I don't know. That's for me. I love that. But yeah, summer is kind of coming to a close.
Yeah, we'll take the mild. And we've had like a little bit of a heat wave. I'm in the Midwest as well. I'm in Michigan, in Metro Detroit. And it has been like the 90-degree, like July, the end of the month. It was really hot, and it was mild the past couple of days. We had a little bit of rain. Can't complain, but I am super excited for our conversation today, Marlo. Before we kind of jump in, I'm just going to welcome anybody who's watching us live on Facebook, on LinkedIn. Please leave a comment below. So last week I was interviewing Keisha Kent, rather, and she, the LinkedIn Live notification didn't go out, and I got no comments from the community. So I was a little worried, and I reached out to LinkedIn Help on Twitter, and they actually said, yeah, there was a hiccup. Live notifications weren't working. So if you guys are watching on LinkedIn, please leave a comment so I can know that, yes, you can hear and see us and everything's working properly. It looks like a couple of comments that are coming in right now. So it looks like we're in good shape there. And let us know where in the world you're watching from. I'm working out of my home office, and Marlo, it looks like you might be working out of your home and your home office as well, right?
I have, and I've been in this space since 2005. I've run 3 different multi-million-dollar sales organizations from this command station, I like to say. So I'm very comfortable in this space.
Awesome. Well, why don't you take a few minutes, if you could, tell us a little bit about your background. What's your business all about? We're going to be talking about today about your 3 key ingredients for entrepreneurs. So I'm kind of curious a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey. So tell us a little bit about that as we get the conversation started.
Well, first off, I just want to thank you for this. And, here's the thing before we get started in today. So today's the first Monday of the month. Yeah. And I love to share this strategy with people, something I've been doing since 1989. But the first day of every month, the first words out of your mouth should be rabbit, rabbit. And the reason that I share that, because it's intended to bring you really good luck, right? Mm-hmm. And so the reason I share that is, here we are, the very first Monday of a fresh new month. There's a lot of challenges that we've been facing, but, this is a pivotal time because as an entrepreneur myself, I'll share the story a little bit more, but my team and I purposely kind of step back every July. And so we're coming off what I would say is kind of our sabbatical. So today is like my first day of really being back in motion and synergy in our routines. We don't take the foot completely off the gas, but we step back and we refresh and we recharge. And that's, to run our business in these 180-day sprints. So every January and July, it's, reflection, we pull back, and it helps us to be sustainable and profitable. So I'm excited to join on this Monday. And I do want to just kind of share that little tidbit.
I love it. It's kind of like the reset. And I think we do need that. And sometimes when you're an entrepreneur, you're always like foot on the gas, 180 like all the time, where you need to like take that pause back. And I agree with you, kind of like the first Monday of the month for me, I think about a little bit of resetting, like flipping my calendar. I do that every first of the month, but there's like certain routines that we do that help us to kind of reset. So I love that reflection.
Absolutely. So I'm a chief inspirational officer. And so let me get into that title specifically. So I help passionate entrepreneurs achieve their confidence and clarity and reach their 1-year goal and do it in 90 days, removing all that decision overwhelm, the fear and the uncertainty that comes with being an entrepreneur. And so the title of chief inspirational officer, there's, inspiration is very vision driven. Motivation is goal driven. And there's a really big difference between those two. And so when somebody comes to me and says, you know what, I really need to be motivated, I say, okay, let's get really clear. What goals do you need to be setting in order for you to have those benchmarks? Okay, those things to reach by. But that inspiration, right? That's that vision of what's possible. And that's the space in which I live. I love being a high achiever and a high performer. I'm just kind of naturally wired in that space. But, as I was going through, and as you know, Brenda, with being, a marketing guru, you have to differentiate yourself. And so really thinking about the type of leader and how and who I work with, it's really being inspired. So on that Strength Finders profile, futuristic is my number one, right?
Okay.
And so I think you can sense that, you know, it's that futuristic person who sees the possibility, the what if, has the ability to remove the challenges and the angst and just kind of go all in. And so that's really where that title stems from. And as a I say triple crown entrepreneur, right? So it goes into three forms. 2005, I helped to start a team or start a company with a team of people. So I had two other business partners, and we took a concept and an idea and we took it to a nationwide brand. We took that product, we developed it in 39 states and built a multi-million-dollar sales organization. We did that in a very, very short period of time. We had venture capital money. So just the drive, the whole way that we approached that was quite organic and very, very unique. And that second opportunity came in 2008, where I like to say doubled my income in a worldwide recession without a college education. Now, I do have an associate's degree, right? So I do have some schooling, but I also adopted the mantra by Earl Nightingale in 2005 when I was working in that first phase of being an entrepreneur, that if you spend an hour a day in study and research in your chosen field, you'll be a national expert in 5 years or less. And so that's the way that I overcame personally, you know, not having that formal college education and sit in the classroom. I was more so working in the trenches, because that's where I really enjoy. I'm that hands-on learner. I like to just dig in and dig deep and just go. And so that's really kind of the full-bodied essence. And so 2008, you know, that second opportunity was taking an established organization, 6 years in the business, and they were never reaching their sales goals, right? They had high desires, but it was never happening. And so I was able to step in and rebrand and help that company supersede goals by taking profits up 220% in the first 180 days. So you can hear all of this stuff with being, an entrepreneur. I really love people and I really, really love performance. And so those two things combined gave me that third opportunity as an entrepreneur to launch my own brand. So I can say I started a company, rebranded another, and launched my own. And so it's kind of that full-bodied approach in what I do in business. And yes, I'm an executive coach, but I do it as a kind of an inspiring mindset and framework.
So is that primarily what you do is executive coaching, or is it more like the project work or retainer work, or what's your core of your business, I guess?
Yeah, so we have different varieties. I do we've got a monthly training webinar that we work with. We have a quarterly recognition program that I teach and train. I do obviously on stage speaking and presenting. One of the things that I also have stepped in with the pandemic is serving people by giving their teams a booster shot. Okay. So companies, teams, leaders, are getting fatigued and tired and needing to motivate and inspire their teams. And so I step in as an outside breath of fresh air to help some of these people kind of reset and look at things differently. And that's another key feature of how I serve. We also have our Maverick community. So we kick off Monday mornings as a team. It's just like we all get together and we set goals and we talk about our wins and where we're headed. And then also I do that customized one-on-one VIP red carpet coaching.
Love it. And what I'm hearing in here are many themes kind of coming up. And I feel like you're the kind of person, you pivot quickly, or you kind of evolve your business based on what the market needs are, but also what your passion is. And a bit of this is like, I'm not trying to necessarily give Marlo to give a sales pitch for her business, you guys, but it's more like for those of you who are listening, and there may be a few of you who are kind of on the fence. Do I want to kind of become my own boss? Do I want to go into this self-employed entrepreneurship route? I want you to start thinking about, it might not be you're just selling one thing, because what I heard her say is there's many things, there's many facets of that. And then you kind of, you've evolved that based on what's happening right now with the pandemic, right? A lot of different things.
Yeah. It's always kind of been the bloodline. People have always been my number one product, right? Like I started early 80s in human resources. Human resources, what are you doing? You're working with talent. You're unearthing their skill sets. You're aligning them into positions where they can thrive. So, if you really look at that, that's where it all started. So you take that human resource degree. I did 10 years of nonprofit community service. And so I didn't earn a paycheck for 10 years, but man, I gave back to my community as I was raising our our young sons. And then it all kind of fed into and led. I mean, my first opportunity, that business opportunity in 2005, was actually one of the other people that I volunteered with in the community. And she said, hey, I've got this idea and you'd be the best VP of sales. And I'm like, okay, I've never done that before, but I'm willing to take the risk and do it. And that was my start at being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'm super, super excited for this conversation because I'm an entrepreneur. I've actually am celebrating kind of 3 years being on this side of the fence. Just yesterday, I was looking at my Facebook memories, and it was, the pivotal moment the universe kind of nudged me forward was August 2nd, 3 years ago. And I am so grateful where I'm at now. And it's been an interesting journey. Even with the pandemic, everything going on, I'm still so, so happy where I'm at right now, especially happy because right, Marlo, you and I, we can control this where we're at right now, right?
To a certain degree, I guess control isn't the word I like to use. I like to be empowered, right?
Yeah, that's a better word. Yeah.
I've really learned and studied, there's 4 core feelings on how I wake up and how I like to connect and have synergy. Yeah. And it's peaceful, energized, empowered, and loved. And, everybody that I align with, we really get clear on, we're all seeking peace in some form, right? And peaceful is just that ease and that comfort, but peace can also be looked at as lazy. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, there's energizing. We can be fully empowered. And really, when it all comes down, we just want to be loved, right? That's just the universal core. And so I really throw those ingredients into it and try to stay away from no, I don't want to control it, but I do have to wake up and I do have to put a fire in my own belly and I have to empower myself to get out there and get things done. Nobody's going to do it for me. Whether it's I'm, losing weight, starting a business, learning how to cook, it doesn't matter what you're doing. It's a very universal strategy of just being an empowered person.
Yeah. And you and I actually, this is the first time we've kind of met virtually online. We had a phone conversation a couple months back, and Marlo, I can't remember who it was that introduced me to you, but I created this rock stars list on LinkedIn where I kind of handpick people across the platform that I think are really doing a great job. They have a large number of followers. They're continuing to grow their followers. They're posting great content. They're engaging with their community. If Jeff Young, if you happen to be on here, Jeff, right now, I know he would put what the rock star acronym stands for, and every letter stands for something, but it's, it's dialogue and it's engaging and all these words, they mean something. But you were one of those people, when I looked at your profile, I was like, oh my God, she's definitely a rock star. And I think we've kind of been following each other, watching each other's updates for a while. And I don't know what it was recently, but one or you or I reached out to the other, and maybe it was me, and I said, hey, do you want to be on LinkedIn Live? And we had a preliminary conversation. And our energy, I just felt like we immediately clicked. We got on the phone, and I felt like you were a friend that I'd known for years. And, there's a lot of similarities in I think our personalities too. So delighted for the conversation here today. So you already kind of told us a little bit about your backstory into becoming an entrepreneur. So now let's jump into the conversation here. Yeah. What are those key ingredients for entrepreneurs?
So it's really interesting. I wrote the book, The Making of a Maverick, and I'm just going to show it to you. Okay. Just because it's a real thing.
As well you should. You wrote a book. That's impressive.
Okay. Right? Okay. So as positioned as a thought leader, it was just one of those things I never thought in my entire life that would be something that I would accomplish. And so it was really interesting. It was important to me because you're going to put something in writing that's going to be a legacy builder, right? That's going to sit on the shelves for years and years to come. And a lot of people, no matter the ebb and flow in life that they're in, they're going to look back and see that. And when I talk about people being my product, I really did some deep dives into what makes people tick. And the thing that I found, and so who we serve, I think, is really a general reflection of who we are. And, I know you align with a lot of top achievers and top performers and, people at the top of their game. And, if you're not that person and you're watching this, but you inspire to be that person, then I also want to give you the fuel and invite you to this challenge of joining, those team of people. I label them as Mavericks, and we'll talk a little bit more about that and why that Maverick name. But when I was writing the book, I was really wanting to serve people. I say the book vibrates at a frequency of action. And the thing that puts entrepreneurs in action, when you understand that these are 3 key ingredients that that are necessary to be sustainable and profitable, you keep your eye on the ball, right? You keep those incorporated as some of the habits and the strategies that you implement and things that you do. And those 3 keys are we need to be inspired. right? I started out the conversation talking about inspiration. That's that vision of what's possible. It's one thing to say, I'm going to be a coach, right? But like, how many people, like, I set the intention first year, I'm going to serve 250 people and transform their businesses and help them reach their 1-year goal. And I'm going to help them do it in 90 days, right? So you first have to set a really, really clear vision that inspires us. So first key ingredient is inspiration. Okay. The second one is validation. Okay. Now, validation is a really, really big word. Now, a lot of people talk about permission. Okay. And that is allowing somebody else to say, hey, you know what? You can do it. Like, you go ahead and achieve that. But validation is you being bold and taking actions and then saying, okay, I need to check in, right? I need to ask other people. I need to surround myself and find the tools and resources to validate that, yes, I truly am going in the right direction. I'm doing what I need to be doing and I'm getting closer to where I need to be. And then that last one is recognition. So believe it or not, entrepreneurs, because oftentimes we find ourselves very isolated and working independently, that, we desire, just like everybody else, to have, the office company party at the end of the year, or the quarterly luncheons to celebrate your wild success. None of those things are happening for entrepreneurs, right? So teaching you to create the systems necessary to feed those 3 key ingredients so you can operate very sustainably and very profitably.
Yeah. And I loved each of the statements. And I have a question for you. I just had a conversation with a person this morning who was thinking about making actually, he's decided to make that leap from working for a corporation, and he's been in career transition for a little bit, and he now wants to stay independent. And in our conversation, he was kind of justifying and almost like apologetic, like, I'm not going back to corporate. I'm going to be on my own. And I kind of had a little bit of a heart to heart with him. And I said, to your point of validation, I'm like, you need to believe in yourself. And I kind of gave him the validation. I'm like, you've got the background, you've got the life experience, you can do this. I said, if you're going to go out with, well, I decided not to go back to corporate and, but I did this. And like, if you're kind of justifying, it's like holding out a plate of something and saying, does this milk smell sour? And, as opposed to like, what if I held that same object out, Marlo, and I said, doesn't this yogurt smell delicious? And they're both the same thing. Yogurt is sour milk, right? But it's this positioning, and you have to kind of validate yourself. And I think sometimes we need to surround ourselves with people who can help to validate us as well. And to your point of checking us, hey, you're actually awesome. You don't need to like go out with this kind of, half belief in yourself. You've got to go out with a full belief, right? You've got to believe in yourself.
It's conviction. Conviction is confidence. And so the definition of confidence is the purity of actions produced by a mind free of doubt. Now, anybody that knows me, follows our brand, knew that I was going to speak that truth because I share it with everybody. And I really, the reason I do is because I want to break it down. I want people to understand, because we hear the word confidence all the time. But the 2 things that stand out, I'm going to say it again, the purity of actions produced by mind free of doubt. The 2 things that stand out in that statement are actions and doubt, right? So it's clarity of the actions necessary that we're taking, or that we need to take, or that we are taking, right? But then it's that doubt. We need to remove the doubt, and we need to fuel ourselves up. We need to believe that we can. And do we ever really know? No, we don't. But I try to tell people, a lot of the principles that I teach is, kind of building up that independence. And like I say, making Mavericks, building champions, right? Is, having that really bold, fierce persona that you've got to lead yourself before anybody else can lead you. And so it really kind of stems from that really fierce mindset and that champion's mindset, face the fear and do it anyway.
So what advice do you have for people that are kind of would-be entrepreneurs, or maybe they're at the beginning of their journey, or they're not quite sure, is this, in the given market, we've all kind of taken a little bit of a hit. It's been a little bit bumpy, I think we've all been affected by it. But what advice do you have for people who aren't feeling that confidence in themselves, or maybe their confidence has been shaken because of COVID?
And that's such a great question, Brenda. And, entrepreneurs, like I said, they're independent, they're freedom seekers, they are unbridled spirits. They like to think outside the box, right? They kind of chart their own path. And so when I say that, those are really big things, and they're, almost so big that we need to pull them down to a granular level, and we need to serve ourselves in a very, very powerful way. So for example, when we're working as entrepreneurs or wanting to make the decision, it really, like I said, to have the confidence, it starts with just that conviction. You've got to just ask yourself, am I going to sit on the sidelines? And like you said, Brenda, you could have had the thought 3 years ago when you started your business, 36 months ago, you could still be in that same space today, kind of thinking about being an entrepreneur. But you know what? You said yes. Mm-hmm. You led with conviction. You said, I'm going to build Meller Marketing. Look what you're doing today. I mean, oh my gosh. It's mind blowing. Oh my God. Like, look at the opportunities, look at the energy, look at all that you are accomplishing. And you know where it started, Brenda, for you? Mm-hmm. It was a decision. You chose not to sit on the sidelines. Yeah. And so if anybody's watching this, if you're an entrepreneur and maybe you need to kind of resurge yourself again, let this conversation energize you to take some actions, to stop really sitting on the sidelines and to say, you know what, 3 years from now, I can either sit here and we can have the same conversation. I can feel stuck and I could have that uncertainty, or you know what, I can take the right actions and I can start putting one foot in front of the other, start taking some of these granular actions. And then in 36 months, look back like you are today and saying, look what I did.
Yeah. And for me, it wasn't immediate too. So for folks that are kind of thinking about that journey to entrepreneurship, it wasn't like there was a switch, a flip of a switch. And I was like, one day I'm a corporate employee, next time I was. I mean, for me, it was kind of like, I like the first week I was kind of like, I felt the emotions. I cried the big crocodile tears. And then I was like, I became a professional networker. I was meeting people for this was like in the pre-COVID days when we could go out and meet people in person, right? Yeah. And I was like meeting people for coffee and meeting people for lunch and going to networking events. And I was like throwing myself out there. And it wasn't even for me. Like I knew people like you, Marlo, who were like self-employed and who were successful, but I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to be that person. It was more like I was interviewing and I started, as I was interviewing and as I was meeting people for coffee, they're like, well, since you have time, could you help me with my LinkedIn profile? And since you have time, could you help this company with their social media? And since you have time, and I was like, I wasn't marketing myself. I was like being stumbled upon. And then I decided to kind of ramp things up. And then one day I kind of stopped interviewing. I didn't tell my husband. I just stopped interviewing. And he was like sending me like Google alerts for jobs. And he was like, I said, why are you sending these? He's like, well, because you're looking for a job. I go, yeah, but I'm doing Meller Marketing. And he said, well, that's just until you find something. And I said, yeah, about that. I kind of just, it was like a gradual process into, going in there. But what I found, into your earlier point, is I surrounded myself with positive people who believed in me, who supported me, who saw something in me that I didn't. Did you have people like that with you, Marlo, early on in your career that were kind of like lifting you up without, you asking for that help and support?
Yes. I mean, you can't go it alone more than anything, right? One of those key factors to our success is finding the support necessary, really understanding. And the one core question I think is so important that you ask yourself is, what do I need the most right now? Yeah. Like if you were just to stop, if you are feeling stuck and just saying, you know what, just like remove everything and just say, what do I really need? And maybe support is that thing for you. And so then you say, okay, what kind of support do I need? What would really light a fire in me? What would help me get to that next level? And so here's the thing. I really want to help guide people and do it with, their gut feelings and their introspective, their intuitions, because that's when it's the most genuine. It's not like you're chasing something fake or false. And I just, again, want to give you credit, Brenda. So the reason that you evolved into being so successful is you really listened to yourself, right? You were listening to what was pulling you forward, and you just kept moving yourself in that direction. Now you look back and go, I can't really tell you how I got here. Yeah. But you were just what I'm describing. You were very intuitive in saying, you know what, I think I really need to be following this path because it's working, it's serving, and it's giving you joy. And so, all of that is allowing you to be the best Brenda out there, and Meller Marketing's rocking because you're doing all the things that are really just on your heart.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. And I think sometimes people don't allow themselves to feel what really gives them joy and what really makes them happy. And there's so many people I kind of feel like are corporate employees, but they're a little bit dead inside. Like they like, this is what I've been doing for 20, 30, 15 years, whatever it is. And this is all I know to do. And it's beyond the realm of possibility, like what makes you happy, because they've never really had that chance to do so. It's more like, well, what pays the bills? What am I good at? What will people pay me to do? Yeah. Right. So it's a little bit of it's a mind shift, and it's not for everyone, right, Marlo? And maybe let's kind of go there too. So who is entrepreneurship designed for, and what are some considerations if you're on the fence that it might not be the right path for you?
Okay, so if you're a freedom seeker, right? Mm-hmm. If you just really don't like to be constricted within a box, nobody likes to be told what to do. But if you're one of those people who literally, like I say, is just unbridled, is somebody who does have a little bit of belief or does trust their ability, for me, it was easy to be that triple crown, like to step into that space of launching my own brand, because what I was doing, and we all have it, you reflect back to, what are the things that you do best? And how can you best support people? And it's really those natural talents is where it starts. I mean, for you, Brenda, I'm just going to say, I mean, you are very natural at the marketing space, right? Like the way that you see things, the way that you spin it, you have this nice ability, just very talented and genuine to say, hey, if you do this, this, and this works, right? Yeah. And so you're following your natural talent. And that's really, really important, I think, for people. It's tough to kind of jump off, right, the bridge and make the decision, but just dip your toe in the water. Just start to ask yourself some of those hard questions of, what am I good at? What do I love to do? If I could build a business like this, what would that look like? For me too, Brenda, I scripted the 4-day work week, right? I take January and July off to reset and recalibrate. And my performance is probably higher than most because I've listened to the things that I know really matter. I mean, I love to focus on family and run a really full-bodied life. It doesn't have to be all business. And so it's robust. And I can say, I've set up some really clear end in mind strategies that I can say, okay, we're going to do that in July when I've given myself some space to do it. Yeah. So you can kind of hear some of those things. Entrepreneurs are those people, right? They're ones who just kind of want to challenge themselves a little bit differently. And no, it's not easy. It's not for the faint of heart. But you know what? If there's so many resources and people that can love you and support you in that space. And so just jump in would be my biggest challenge.
And another question related to this, if you could looking back to your journey, kind of being self-employed into, where you were when you started to where you are today, what advice would you give to yourself? That you wish things that you would wish you had known that you had to kind of learn the hard way along the path.
A setback is a setup for a comeback. That is a mantra that I speak. So when we have those setbacks, just when you're going through that difficult, troubling time, it's really, really hard to see the other side, right? But just if you can tell yourself that this setback that I'm experiencing or that I'm facing, whether it be, financially in your business or making a bad decision, that truly is a setup for your biggest comeback. So I think what you're hearing from me is just, it's that positive self-talk, right? It's that mindset. And, I've always been wired this way. I'm going to be really honest. I've always kind of had that free, independent, entrepreneurial mindset. And so I think it's more important than ever that I help as many entrepreneurs in this space as possible to kind of find that for themselves as well and empower them through some of the things that I've gone through personally. I mean, every strategy that I've ever created, it's not taught by, one of the other gurus in the world, like a Tony Robbins or Jack Canfield. These strategies like success boarding and 30-60-10 formula, these are all birthed out of the need to help people get through that challenge that they're facing.
And I loved the theme you just talked about right there, which was as you are growing yourself and kind of reaching ahead to that next phase, I also hear you say you're reaching behind, the people that are kind of coming after you in the past. So talk to us a little bit about the importance of kind of that. I don't want to say I don't know if it's a cycle or circle of life or what. I feel like there's something there though.
Well, it's a mantra that, I speak, I build clients for life, right? And so, and I think anybody should in life, when you're serving people, I think, going at it, not just as a flash in the pan or a once and done, like I'm going to serve you, take your money and move on. No, it's like, I have people that I've, worked with back in 2005 that still reach out and send me texts. Because remember when I said rabbit, right? My previous sales team, I had 237 direct reports in 39 states. And still today, I wake up on the first day of the month and I get these texts, rabbit. And that's all it says. Enough is stated. And so what does that say? That just means that I have built clients for life, that I have built a synergy of systems and people. And, you know, I guess that's everything that I'm, you know, that's a value, that's a foundation that I serve from. And I think when you're with people, you learn from others. And just because I am that spirit, I think it teaches more people to be that as well for themselves.
So I have to ask, Rabbit Rabbit, is that like a line from a movie or a TV show or something?
No. Actually, you know, you can Google it. There's an actual like research. It started back in the 1800s, believe it or not. And it's funny because I was, you know, coaching top executives and CEOs, and I'd be like, okay, I'm just going to share a strategy. First of the month is coming up, say Rabbit. And they're like, what are you talking about? Yeah. For real, it's a real thing. So Google Rabbit Rabbit, and it's an actual clear strategy. It's just something that I was in Europe in 1989. With my associate's degree, right? I did a international cultural arts program, and the dean that I went over there with, she taught us that, and I started to adopt it. So I've been doing Rabbit Rabbit since 1989.
Wow. So I haven't heard of it. I am going to Google it, not right now during the interview, but I am going to look at it. But I mean, it makes sense. It's kind of like a quick kind of punchy thing, and it helps you to kind of focus on, you know, I guess right out the gate, you know, kicking that month off and starting strong. So I'm going to look that up. So what I'd like to do, Marlo, now is we'll kind of shift, and I want to invite folks that are watching, and I've been kind of putting some things up on screen, but I want to invite you guys to please comment below now if you have any questions for Marlo that you'd like to ask, or if you have something you'd like to add to the conversation. And I have been kind of pulling your comments up. I do have to say there's about a 10-second delay. So from the time that I say this, you know, to the time that you guys actually type something in and we see it, there's going to be, you know, maybe about a 30-second or so delay. So I'm going to I'm vamping right now is what I'm doing here as we're waiting for some of those comments that are coming up. But I do want to go back. We've had, you know, a lot of folks that are on, and I want to give a shout out. Chris, I hope you don't mind. Chris Grinrod was the gentleman I was speaking with this morning, and Chris was in career transition, and recently he made the decision that he is no longer going to work for corporate. He's going to stay on his own as an independent PR consultant. And I was like thrilled. We had a great discussion. He's working on his Wix website. He's going to get a logo, and he's kind of starting to create his menu of services. So advice for Chris that you might give Marlo, anything you want to tell him?
Yeah, you know, I mean, there's a very clear framework that you can follow that is quite simple, that, you know, you can be mighty successful doing it, you know, and I guess more than anything is, you know, kudos to you, Chris, for taking the leap and making the decision, standing in conviction, starting to build a website, build that personal brand. You know, you won't regret it. And here's the thing, you know, people talk about success and failure, but really all that is one word, it's learning. So we're going to learn from our success. We're going to learn from our failure. So just keep learning, Chris, and you're going to do just fine. Yeah.
Oh, great. Well, I look forward. I know he's going to post something in a little bit on LinkedIn about, I think he just joined the PRSA professional group to start re-engaging with us. And, you know, I kind of said, get out there, start networking, start informational interviewing. And I'm looking forward to seeing his progress. So this interview was like so timely because I got a phone. He's like, hey, I see you're talking to Marlo. And I go, you got to watch it. You got to watch us live. So really happy to see him on there.
Absolutely.
And Tom Daniels actually mentioned personal board of directors. I mean, do you have a personal board of directors, Marlo, or you want to tell us a little bit about what that means to people who may not be familiar with it?
Yes, Tom, that's fantastic. And yes, I absolutely do. When I started my own brand, I defined 5 people as a personal board of directors, right? So what are the things when I said, you know, ask yourself, what do you need? You know, I needed finance, I needed legal, I needed, you know, another entrepreneur, I needed somebody who could teach me intellectual property. So what I did is reach out to those 5 people and I asked them to be my personal board of directors, to help me make the decisions when I was launching my brand. And all I asked for was 20 minutes, completely complimentary, every month. Would they be willing to do that? And here's the thing, if you ask somebody, they will show up for you. I think people just forget or are afraid to ask, but I showed up and I said, hey, this is what my desire is. This is what the brand looks like. And if you could support me in that space, and all I want is 20 minutes, right? So I was always clear on the 3 questions I needed to ask them, spend 20 minutes listening to, you know, to ensure that I had it right. And then I would go off. And so it is really important to have a very, you know, your own personal board of directors. And like I said, those were not paid. Those are people who really just wanted to serve and give back their level of expertise to somebody who didn't have it. So
yeah, they're just supporters of you. I mean, who wouldn't be a supporter of Marlo? Don't you guys love her? I just love her energy and her thoughts and stuff here. You know, Chuck, we're gonna have to do the Wilson right now, Marlo. So remember Wilson from Home Improvement? He had to like lean over the fence. His Chuck does have a little bit of a longer comment here, but I think it's important. And Chuck and he was on my live a while back, and you know, kind of having that description for what do you do. And sometimes when people describe what they do, and I'm going to go back to my earlier statement, you know, some people that work in corporate are kind of dead inside. And when you describe for people, what do you do? If it's not, I mean, Chuck's point with it's not matching what you do at your work, you know, maybe it's time to start, you know, kind of changing for that. And I heard, I mean, when you describe yourself, and people have also complimented you on Chief Inspirational Officer, they love your job title there, Marlo. But when I hear you describe yourself, what you do, who you help, I mean, you could tell she lights up from within. I mean, the things that you do, I can tell they're very fulfilling for you. So any kind of comments to add on to that statement there?
You know, I appreciate the compliment. And again, I think, you know, that title, and this is, I'll just take you to a really quick story. I am a huge driver of Danielle Laporte, right? So she's a freedom seeker. She's one of those spirit junkies, you would say, with like Gabby Bernstein and Marie Forleo and Maston Kipp, right? And I, within 9 months of my business, went to a retreat. I drove 10 hours in a snowstorm, met her up in northern Minnesota. She flew over from British Columbia, and I spent 72 hours at a conference with Danielle Laporte. And it was a Saturday night, and we all had to stand up, and there was maybe, it was a very intimate event. There was maybe 35 people in the room, and we had to give, you know, our introduction of who we are and what we're doing. And it was, as we were going around the tables, it hit me like a brick. And, you know, I was going to say, I'm a, you know, success business coach and motivator, right? But it was more than that. It was in that space. I stood up and I said, I'm a Chief Inspirational Officer, and I empower people to reach their goal. And that just felt so much better. That at that time, after that weekend, I became a Chief Inspirational Officer. And yes, it maybe sounds a little feely or floaty, but I'll tell you, the impact that it has made, because I'm really being true to my purpose, has been everything. It's been a game changer. Yeah,
I love it. And it's a play on CEO, obviously there, but it shows the personality. And when I had a business goal I set for myself, you'll love this story, Marlo. I had a business goal I set for myself. So when I first went on to business, I was calling myself a marketing consultant, and I had like a revenue goal, and I have it on a whiteboard. I'm looking at it across the room. And I said, when I reach this revenue goal for the month, like revenue achieved for the month in one single month, I'm promoting myself. And it took a long time. It took like 9 months from when I was first line, but I got there. And when I got there, I promoted myself to CEO, and I didn't want to be Chief Executive Officer. I just, you know, and when you're an entrepreneur, you can call yourself anything you want. That's the beauty, right? So I kind of put it out to my network, and I said, I want to be a CEO, but I don't want it to be Chief Engagement Officer, or Chief Executive Officer. Spoiler alert. I said, what should I call myself? And I put it out to my community, and I actually had some suggestions coming in, and one was Chief Engagement Officer. And they said, because that's what you do. You engage with your audiences. And I embraced it, and similar to you, that's what you have on your LinkedIn. I have Chief Engagement Officer. It's a little bit of a difference, you know.
It is, and it just makes you, like you said, you know, when you were describing our synergy and our connection, Brenda, you know, I think you naturally, and I teach people magnetism, right? And because confidence is magnetism, it's believing in yourself, that you just kind of put yourself in the room and you just allow rather than compete. And I just know that, you know, you just show up and you're just open to receive. And when you're allowing that space, you know, you can just tell somebody who's coming at it from, like what you said, from how you've titled yourself, there's just, you're being really true to yourself, and you're just honoring the process in which you serve. And that's everything.
Yeah. And we've had a couple comments coming in from fellow entrepreneurs. And Jennifer kind of commented here too, you know, I mean, it's not all roses, right, Marlo? I mean, there's not every day. It's not the glorious life of an entrepreneur. Some days it's the grind, and it can be amazing and scary, like Jennifer's talking here. But I think I love the theme of staying positive and finding support, surrounding yourself with positive people. I think that's really key. Would you agree?
Yes. I mean, so success boarding, when I talked about those 3 key ingredients and recognition was one of those, you know, success boarding is that space right there where the purpose of success boarding is strengthening your positive, optimistic muscle.
Yeah.
And so let me just give you 2 cents into that. You know, 2005, when I was leading that sales team, I was constantly dealing with people who were facing rejection and negativity. And it's okay. We have to do that. And I would say, okay, you know, because everything was going wrong. You know, they'd get on the phone with me and they're like, you know, nothing's working. Everything's bad. I said, okay, you have 2 minutes, right? We set the timer. You have a 2-minute pity party, get it all out. But then when that's done, let's look at this differently. Let's look at the 3 things that went right this week. What felt good? And when we start to, you know, really bring forward the silver lining of the possibilities of what's happening, your recognition of yourself immediately goes upward. And then you are strengthening that muscle to be able to see the possibility over the challenge. And that's a lot of the success.
That's great. So I like, and I'm going to use it as a takeaway too. So if I'm having a down day, I'm going to talk about what 3 things went right this week, because I think it is a little bit of a mindset shift. Moving along, I saw Jim, and Jim is a fellow, you know, corporate employee, kind of turned entrepreneur. I think he does HR consulting, and he made me think of, you know, the Van Halen song. He said, "Go ahead and jump," but it made me think of Marlo. Have you ever had somebody ask you, what would your walk up song be? So like on baseball, when the players come up on the field, they play like a walk up song. So do you have like, what would your walk-up song be?
Oh,
do you have a theme song?
Hello. Yeah. Pharrell, Happy. I mean, you know, when you think about that, you know, it's just like the Happy. It's, that is totally a theme song for me. Also, the other one is Carrie Underwood is Champion. And that one also breathes a lot of life into me.
I like the one, is it Rihanna? This Girl Is on Fire. I love that
song.
Oh,
of course. Yes.
That's an empowering kind of thing.
It is. Music helps a lot. If you are having a down day, man, you got to get get set in your music tone. So
yeah. And I find like even sometimes when I'm doing work that can, you know, when you have the music kind of playing in the background where you can kind of be unfocused a little bit because you can want to listen to your music, it does help with kind of the energy and everything that's in there. So I think we got through all the comments here today, and Connie is saying she'd love to be on someone's personal board of directors. Love this idea. So Connie, that might be something you can even post about on LinkedIn or on Facebook and just say, hey, you know, for connections in my network, if you're seeking someone with experience in X industry, if you need someone to join your personal board of directors, you know, tap into me for that expertise. That might be something to think about. So go ahead.
Yeah, no. So it's really helpful, you know, because that board of directors still today, 10 years later, you know, I still go back to them and, you know, work with them on, like, if I'm having an intellectual property question, you know, not only learning, but also being, you know, held accountable to it. And these are people I build for life. And then when they're growing and building, I'm there to support them. So you naturally kind of build a team of affiliates within who you are, and you love each other, you support each other, and you just want to see each other win. So it's very powerful.
Yeah. So I did see another question, Tom. I apologize, I missed it earlier, but let me just pull this up on screen. So work-life harmony, you know, what are your thoughts there on Marlo? Is it, you know, more difficult as a budding entrepreneur? And what advice do you have for folks that are struggling a little bit with that?
Well, you know, work-life balance is a myth, right? It just doesn't exist. It becomes a self-management thing. Instead, you know, instead of saying, you know, I guess it's clear in how you want to spend your time, because there has to be, you know, what brings you energy and what gives you fuel. And he's absolutely right, Tom, by posing that, you know, harmony is a big piece of the pie. And people always talk about work-life balance. Well, you know, that really doesn't happen, especially today with the pandemic and everything that we're facing and all that everybody is juggling. I guess it's called, you know, managing expectations and setting clear, healthy boundaries is how I would look at that. So, you know, what expectations do you have of yourself? I mean, everything is really flipped upside down. So you can't work it like you used to. Why, you know, frustrate yourself trying to be that, which it can't be anymore. So reframe a new set of expectations for yourself, and then create boundaries. You know, healthy boundaries are everything. Working from home, you know, 3 o'clock, the kids would come home, and that's when my workday ended, because I would literally segue into being, you know, a mom, and that's where I wanted to be. So it's creating, you know, first what's important to you, because I couldn't serve really well after that 3 o'clock hour, because there was that constant struggle. And so I'd like, you know what, instead of let's just remove the tension, I'm just going to be done at 3. I'm going to be with the boys at that point. I'm going to be a mom. So I think that you're hearing that, you have to choose what that is. And that's why, entrepreneurship is so awesome. Yeah.
And I love that you kind of made that. And I actually do something in the summer. And working from home. Obviously, this summer is a little bit different because we've all been home, continuously for so many months now. But I actually started in June, like once the school year was done officially for my kids, and I've got a high schooler and a elementary school child. But I block my calendar off at every day at 2 o'clock. So 2 to 5 is my family time. And during that time, we might go grocery shopping. We need to go to the store. I need to get them out of the house and just drive around, go to the park. But I can always move client work into those spots if I need to, but I don't apologize for it. My appointments are full Monday through Friday from 2 to 5 with other obligations. My family is that obligation. But it's not to say, and you probably do the same thing, Marlo, too. Like you might shift some of your time during the workday, right, quote unquote, for your family. And then after the kids are done or dinner's done or whatever, then you might pull up the email again and finish getting those proposals and contracts out for the night, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And, you want to be present because the presence gives us peace, right? Because as I was describing, if the boys come home, I don't want to be distracted. I want to be fully present. And when I'm present and I just know that I'm buttoning up my business, segueing into it, like where I want to be, that just gives you a sense of peace, and you're not staticky and edgy. You're present. And there's a sense of, allowing that to take hold. But again, you gotta build that up for yourself. And, obviously it worked. The boys were, young. They were 9 and 11 when we started. They're both entrepreneurs today. They both have their own companies. Our oldest is in Denver, and our youngest is local and bought his first house. He's, 22 years old. So, so obviously those are validators to me that by watching their mama, right, be a businesswoman and do it, they were inspired to do it for themselves.
That's awesome. And I have to share this comment from Greg and then Chris, and then we'll start to wrap here. But Greg loves the idea of a short pity party, moving on to successes. But I like that concept too. Like allow yourself, and I talked about this earlier, I allowed myself to feel the feelings that I had to feel before I moved on. And I love that you did the same thing with your team. You kind of said, okay, let's have our two-minute pity party, and then we're going to get out of that box and we're going to move on, right?
Yeah, because otherwise it can just ooze into things, and then it takes up all of our time, and we spent 45 minutes, nagging. Instead, let's honor it. Let's set a timer, and then let's segue into something more positive.
Yeah. So love it. And Chris Garrity corrected me. Thank you, Chris. It's not Rihanna. It was Alicia Keys. I was like, when I said it, I'm like, is that the right artist? And it was. Alicia Keys sang Girl is on Fire. So thank you for the correction.
Thank you. Absolutely. See, we have a tribe. We have people supporting us and loving us. And it's like, yeah, that's powerful.
People looking out. So as we start to wrap the conversation here today, Marlo, I'm going to pull up your LinkedIn URL up on screen here. Are you open to accepting new invitations from folks on LinkedIn, or what are your kind of thoughts there if people were to visit your profile?
Absolutely. No, I would love for people to be part of our Maverick community. We also have a podcast. We have a Perform and Get Paid Facebook community that we empower and connect with. We also have a YouTube channel. So the strategies that I coach on, we've written, I've scripted 2 to 3 minute quick videos that people can tap into and watch. One of them, if you go to Maverick video 13, it talks about self-belief. And all I'm going to say, and I'm going to give a teaser, if you have a potato and if you have a straw, I want you to watch that video. And that's all I'm going to say, because there's a lot of power when we talk about entrepreneurs and that self-belief. That's an actual physical, tangible action you can take today to measure your self-belief.
Interesting. So I'm sorry, what was the website you said? Maverick Video 13?
Yeah. So if you go to our YouTube channel, Your Chief Inspirational Officer, and all of our videos are posted up there. But if you in the search section put down self-belief, just type in that key self-belief video, that's where you will find that one. And it's also labeled as Maverick Video 13 because the book, every strategy shared, there's 6 client case studies. There's a podcast interview for each of them. And then you can go to the YouTube channel and actually watch the strategy of what you just read about in the book.
Okay. And I'm going to also share up on screen here your website. And I'm imagining we could probably find the YouTube channel on your website. Is that right, Marlo?
Yes. Okay. Yep. You'll find it up on the top section there.
Okay.
Yeah. And we talk about, the Maverick, and this is where I did allude to it, but why Maverick? Okay. Yeah. Really quick. you know, I was writing the book saying, you know, how to be an action captain. And instead the book came out to, you know, the making of a Maverick, building champions of business and a life, the whole thing. So the action captain swirled in my head forever and ever and ever. And I had this epiphany, and the word Maverick came into play. And the tribe was described as Mavericks, right? Those unbridled spirits. So when I said, you know, Taylor Swift has Swifties, Lady Gaga has monsters, and Marlo's got Mavericks. And so it just kind of all played together. And so that's our Maverick community. And it was literally an epiphany, because that's where it needed to, to come forward.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to encourage you guys to go check out, it's over here, the website over here. Go to marlohiggins.com. And as we start to wrap the conversation here today, Marlo, any kind of final comments you'd like to share with the group, resources, shout outs, anything like that you'd like to tell us?
You know, again, Brenda, thank you. I guess, you know, you're the one I want to raise up. You know, you do such a great job of recognizing other people. And so, you know, without this platform, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to, you know, to get out there and have an impact for those that needed to hear this message today. So for that, I'm grateful. And I just want to raise you up. Yes, you're welcome. You know, you can go to our website. We've got some great tools and resources. One of the, you know, our biggest productivity and time hacks is the 30-60-10 formula. You can reach out and download that today. And you can also be part of our Facebook community, which is very active.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'm going to include the links in the playback of the video, which I'll post on YouTube a little bit later on today. Thank you so much, Marlo. I had a delightful conversation. I really enjoyed the time with you today. And gosh, the hour flew by so fast, didn't it?
It did. It always does. Thank you so much, Brenda.
You're welcome. So as we wrap here today, guys, I'm just showing you, it's kind of little tickers running down. It's saying, please share this video. So as soon as you get done, go back to the video, whether you're watching it on LinkedIn or Facebook, and click to share with your network. Tag Marlo Higgins on LinkedIn, tag her on Facebook. And if there's something that was particularly memorable about this, or if this inspired you in some way, you know, share that with others. And you never know who you're going to reach in the community who might not be able to see it live, but, you know, maybe they're on the fence about becoming an entrepreneur. Maybe they're already there and they're kind of like stuck, like, where do I go next? And Marlo's resources might be able to, you know, provide them that nudge forward, if you will, to help them out. So thank you for doing that, Marlo. And I'm going to remind you guys too to please go to mellermarketing.com/subscribe, and you'll get my VIP email notifications with upcoming LinkedIn live interviews. So that's it for us today, Marlo. So what's on your agenda the rest of the day? What happens next for you here?
Well, you know, I'm very strategic. And so I'm going to spend about 30% of my time today focused on growth strategies, some more actions like this. I'm serving some of my clients, and then following up and following through. And it's Monday. So I'm going to like kick this month off really strong. And I'm really excited about what this fall brings, even though there's so much uncertainty with you know, unknowns right now. I guess it's just take action today and just keep going. So that's right. My end word.
Stay positive all the way, right?
Absolutely. Thanks, Brenda.
All right, Marlo, thank you again for your time. It was a delight. And thank everybody for watching. Appreciate you guys watching, whether you're watching live or in playback. Please make sure you leave a comment before you leave, and tell Marlo she was awesome, because I know she was awesome. I learned so much from her today. I'm going to check out her resources after we get done, and I would encourage you guys to do the same. Stay safe and stay healthy, and we'll see you guys online. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.